Get ready.
What's the deal, Neil?
Jerry Sparby is back with us. We had Jerry in, I don't know, 8 months ago, maybe 8 months ago, Jerry, something like that.
Last fall.
Yeah, it was last fall. Okay,
Yep.
So it's been a year. Jerry, before we get into some questions here and answers, just give us your background. I mentioned earlier an educator, and I've worked in schools and of course, our afternoon guy, Kirby, was one of your most troublesome students.
Yeah. I don't know if he is one of the most troublesome, but he has had his challenges.
Right.
Yes, I was at Rocori for 37 years as a teacher and principal, and that was a majority of my life. It changed my life. It helped me become who I am today. And part of that was the school shooting there, which was the anniversary was yesterday, 20 years ago.
20 years. Yeah, that's a day. You talk about a day that changes your life. That was one.
That was. And it put me on a path of trying to understand what was happening to kids, not only in our schools, but in our neighborhoods. And there's so much that has changed and evolved over the years, from the kidnappings to so forth and technology. And we basically have put our kids in our homes and not out on the neighborhoods, in the streets and in yards playing with each other. And it's creating a whole nother crisis as far as mental health, as far as I can tell.
It is. It's so different from when we were kids to now. It's not even close. There's nothing that reminds me. Almost once in a while, you'll see some kids out maybe throwing a football around or doing something, but I don't know. My neighborhood is full of kids, and they're not outside. They're inside on their video games. And to me, I'm so anti-video game, I can't even tell you, but that's because I'm old. But it is. It's changed the dynamic of our families and of our kids.
Yeah. When I first graduated from college and I was interviewing for jobs, one of the things I did was, when I interviewed at Rocori, I drove around town to see how many kids were out in the driveways playing, and it was pretty much every driveway had somebody playing, whether it was jumping rope or shooting baskets or whatever. And today, that doesn't happen at Rocori or anywhere I go.
No. It's a shame, to be honest, but I'm sure there's some good to it. I don't know what it is, and you'd have a hard time convincing me that childhood today is better than what it was 40, 50 years ago, or 30 years ago, maybe even. But anyway, so you have kind of now in your post-educational career are still involved, and you've got your own nonprofit called HuddLUp, and we want to talk about that. But let's talk about some ways that we can bring families and get kids playing together and working together, because that's so important, not only as kids, but as we grow into adults.
Yes. So one of the things I think that I find is that we need structure, and yet we've created a world of so much structure right now for kids that kids are becoming resistant and pushing back on control. They're feeling they're being controlled every minute of the day. And so when they get a break, they become apathetic and lazy, or appears to be lazy, and I think it's just due to too much stress and lack of connections with each other and with their parents. One of the things with our HuddLUp classrooms, we were going into classrooms. We've been in over 100 classrooms across central Minnesota, and every day we show up, Jim, Brian, or myself, the kids just holler, "Jerry's here," and they jump out of their desk and they come and they give you a group hug, and it's a good feeling. But the reality is, it's not about Jerry they want to hug. It's about touching each other. We give them permission to touch each other, to put their hands on each other's shoulders and squeeze us, and in an appropriate way. But it, like I said, every one of us, no matter where we're at, whether we're in the cafeteria or in the classrooms, we experience the same things. Kids want this group hug, and it's like I said, it's about touching each other. It's not about hugging us as much as it is each other.
That's interesting. What age group are you predominantly dealing with, Jared?
Right now, we're predominantly dealing with K through 6.
Okay.
However, that experience I have at Apollo High School or at Tech High School, I show up and they see kids from the neighborhood that I've worked with throughout the summer. They see me and they say, "Jerry's here," and they all just come running and swamp me. And so it isn't about age here, this group hug. It's about kids wanting to be able to touch each other in a way that's appropriate.
Yeah. It's a part of our fabric, I guess, right? I mean,
right.
That's what we may not know it, but we crave it.
Yeah. And it's one of those things people say, well, what is it parents should do? And I say, hug your kids. If there's one thing you could do, they want to be touched by you, not by strangers. They want to be touched by mom and dad. And you've got to take that initiative. And it might seem like it's uncomfortable, but once you get in that routine, it'll be a regular, daily, multiple times a day situation. Yeah.
Very cool. So, all right, let's talk about. You mentioned that kids are under stress, and there's a lot of, and some of it may be from too much structure. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, I think stress has some value to it. I think we all are motivated to get things done and do things because of stress, and so stress isn't all bad. But our problem today is that these kids are sponges for stress, and they're feeling the stress in their mom and dad, whether it's from their financial concerns or from their jobs or from social concerns. But anyway, these kids are holding this stress within their bodies, and what's happening is they're shifting. Their whole bodies have become more tense, into the point that they become mouth breathers. They've stopped breathing through their noses. And when we're in stress, we bring in air the easiest way we can, and that's through our mouth. And that's what athletes do. And that seems to work for athletes, but athletes move, and they pull that oxygen throughout their whole system, and they still use their full lung capacity. But kids who are sitting on screens and don't move during the day, and they're breathing through their mouths, do not use their full lung capacity, and that's part of the problem that we're having right now. Is we're finding that less and less use of lung capacity and engaging the oxygen in their systems. In fact, what I'm finding that when I'm working with suicidal kids, I will check their oxygen level, and often I find it's at about 90% instead of the 98 to 100%, and that's from basically sitting around being passive and not absorbing the oxygen in our systems. And that stress in our bodies. Yeah.
So is there something as a parent we can do as far as recognizing that and then changing those habits?
Yes, I really believe that, we got to figure out how to get our kids back breathing through their noses. And I honestly think the easiest way to do that is to put a piece of paper tape on their mouths at night. It's not about sealing their mouth. It's about a reminder to their subconscious mind to keep their mouth closed. And paper tape will not infect the skin, but it'll help retrain them so they sleep with their mouths closed at night. I think that's one of the things that parents could easily do versus putting in retainers or putting in other mouth guards to get them to breathe through their nose. I think it's just a little piece of paper tape can work wonders. Yes.
I've heard, some people, even that, adults that want to, sleep better. I know that has been recommended for some to encourage them to sleep and breathe through their nose. So just something, that you talk about something that is not on anybody's radar. That, nose breathing versus mouth breathing, I don't know, that is kind of a unique thing.
Yeah, when Jim Bryan and I started doing this, we said, let's find out how many kids are actually breathing through their noses in the classroom. And honestly, I don't know if we find more than 1 in 100.
Really?
It is almost doesn't happen anymore. Yeah. And when we ask kids to breathe through their nose, it's like they just got to work so hard at it. And yet that's one of the things we do every time we're in the classroom is we stop and go through breathing exercises with them. And, for years we've gotten into this mindfulness. Well, let's stop and let the kids breathe. We're way beyond that right now. It has to be way more intentional. It has to be about suck that air in through your nose. It's not just about sitting and think you're breathing through your nose. It's got to be more intentional. Yeah. Yes.
That's very interesting. That is just something that you just don't hear about. Let's talk about kids then playing together and the way you like to encourage that interaction amongst kids, because I think that is something that's very, very key.
Yes. So one of the things as a school principal and a teacher, elementary, kids would come to school in kindergarten and first grade, and they'd be into parallel play. In other words, they didn't know how to play with each other, but they could play alongside each other. And so recess was extremely difficult. They could be on the swings and they could run up and down the slides, but as far as interacting with each other, it just wasn't going to happen. And that parallel play all of a sudden now seems to be not just in kindergarten and first grade, but we've got parallel play going throughout. I think I got 90-year-olds that are in parallel play. They don't know how to interact with each other. And so they're in that space of being separate. So one of the things we do when we're in the classroom is we do play without objects. A lot of our plays without objects because we want it to be about you and I being together and accomplishing something. And so it's little things about clapping together and being in that synchronization and feeling each other's presence. It's about playing games like front to front, back to back, where we get them up and move around. And it's the red light, green light from back in our days when we were kids. You know, you didn't have an object; you just had each other, and so you had to be present and you had to pay attention to each other and be really there, rather than having a ball to throw. Because once you have an object, then the object becomes the focus versus you and I.
Okay.
And so we really work within the classroom about getting kids to be with each other and playing with each other without an object. Yes, we do use balls once in a while, and we use bean bags and things, but we try to do more and more things where kids are not having an object to play with.
That was a blast from the past there, red light, green light. I love it. That's it's something so simple, but yet we did it. We got a big kick out of it, and it's good to know, that it's still possible for us today. Can we talk a little bit about your Huddle Up, and maybe we have parents or educators out there that would like to find out more about your organization and how they can get you or one of your associates to a classroom?
Yes. So we have HuddLUp.org. It's a nonprofit. It's our website. And so, like I said, last year we were in over 100 classrooms. Right now, I don't know. We've got over 100 schools for sure that are requesting us to come to their classroom. So it's an exciting problem to have, but with 3 staff, we cannot do hundreds of schools.
Oh, come on, Jerry.
Which is ending up to be thousands right now, and not just in Minnesota. We got it from the southern border to the northern border of Minnesota, which is exciting, and yet how are we going to do that? We've also got requests from California to North Carolina to Seattle, you name it. So it's exciting because people are realizing this is so simple, and yet it can impact kids' mental health in a way that is nothing else we've done has.
That's the end goal, right? I mean, we do not want to have a repeat of 20 years ago yesterday, ever. Yeah. Schools should be a safe haven and a safe place where you, as parents, we don't have to worry about. I know that's not the reality anymore, but that doesn't mean we can't strive for it.
Right. And so the thing we've done with Huddle Up now is that we've created videos of games. So, because what we found is often teachers, parents, they could read the directions and it was clear as mud. But if they can see a 30-second or a 50-second video of how the game is played, then, I can do that. So we've created videos that we have on our website, or we've got a few on our website, and we're creating a channel for it. We've also creating an SEL curriculum, social and emotional learning curriculum. So we'll have 50 lessons where teachers can access to see how to do different things. Because what we're doing is using the teachable moments. It's not about watching a video and asking the kids questions. It's about when the kids have conflict, we stop and we deal with it. So it's a teachable moment. How do we get through this? It's not about me telling you how to fix it. It's about me giving you time and space. And if we need help, then we give them support. But otherwise, it's teachable moments. It's about building relationships. It's about a community and a classroom that kids are craving for, and we all are.
Yeah. I can see this being advantageous, too, even for somebody, maybe that does home daycare, especially during the summer when you have, some school-age kids, boy, if you're looking for something positive to do during the day instead of just let them run around like, chickens with their heads cut off, as we say, there's some great little tools here.
Yes. I think right now we've been able to do a lot of organizing and expanding our work and getting it more defined so that people can actually do it without us in the classroom. We truly do believe the mentoring and the modeling is the key to success. But we can't be everywhere. And so right now, until we get there, we're going to try and have it available for people to access through our website. And
give us that website again, Jerry.
It's HuddLUp, HuddLUp.org. No E. Yes.
HuddLUp.org. Yeah, there's some great information there. Jerry, you're doing life-changing work, man. Congratulations on your successes. Yeah. Keep going. Who are your two compadres again, Jim
Meyer and Brian Ottman.
Okay.
And the three of us, all three of us experienced the Rocori shooting, and all three of us have retired from Rocori, and all three of us are committed not only to Rocori, but trying to make this world a better place.
Yeah.
And can I share one little story?
Sure.
So I had an opportunity to work at the Children's Village in South Africa for a month just before COVID. And I was working with 16 and 17-year-old kids, and it was about helping them build community and friendships and relationships, because at 18, they're basically kicked out of the village, and they're now on their own. And so the key is that they have a community that's strong enough to support each other. Anyway, one day it was raining, and we were just sitting in the room, and this 17-year-old boy came up to me in the back and tapped me on the back of my shoulder and said, "Can I sit in your lap?" And I looked at him and I said, "You want to sit in my lap? These kids are going to destroy you." He said, "I want to sit in your lap." And so I looked at the social worker in the room and I said, "What do you think?" And she said, "It's up to you." So I let him sit in my lap. He sat down in my lap, and I put my arms around him, and he said, "I always wanted to know what it was like to sit in my dad's lap." And I started crying, and he's crying. And the next thing I know, I've got the whole room lined up. Everybody wants to sit in my lap and be held. And I tell that story because that was in South Africa, where kids have never had a parent. And yet I think the same thing is happening here in the U.S. The parents are there, but they're not stopping and holding their kids. And we think, well, they're too old to be held. I can tell you, kids never get too old to be hugged. And I really encourage parents to stop, take that time, hold their kids' hands, hug them, and be with them. That is the key to all of this.
Yeah, let's be parents. Let's really be parents.
Yes.
You know, sometimes, our daily lives, we get so busy and so many things going on, and just in our minds, and boy, those kids got to be number one. Jerry, really appreciate the conversation. Keep doing what you're doing, and we'll check back with you, all right?
All right. Thanks so much for this opportunity.
Jerry Sparby, Huddle Up, ladies and gentlemen, HuddLUp.org for more information, and it's good work.